Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine, and on this week's web fishing forecast, we have the first 40-pound stripers making their way into Narragansett Bay of the 2021 season. We have fluke season firing up off of Rhode Island and Connecticut, and we have the sea bass season starting off with a bang in both Massachusetts and Connecticut. We have all that and a lot more to come on the reports this week, so stay tuned for it all.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Starting off in Massachusetts, everybody seems to be focused on stripers right now, and with good reason. You can catch stripers from virtually every shoreline throughout the entire Commonwealth. In fact, these fish have moved as far north as Portland, Maine at this point. If you're fishing north of the Cape Cod Canal, you're not finding too many keepers, though. There's a lot of cookie cutter fish around, actually, throughout the entire reach of this report. And that cookie cutter fish, I'm defining that as 20 to 26 inches. So we're seeing a ton of those, North River, Boston Harbor, all the way up to Plum Island and beyond. That's the predominant size up that way. But as you move out onto the Cape, things get a little bit more interesting. Just the other day, we heard about some really nice fish that moved into Wellfleet Harbor. These fish were into the mid-20-pound class. And they've been hanging around one of the herring runs up there. And guys have been getting them on a variety of different lures. There wasn't a lot offered on exactly what they've been catching them on, but the fact that they're around a herring run makes it pretty easy to narrow it down. I'm saying things like red fins, magic swimmers, big soft plastics, anything like that, and don't be afraid to fish fast around the herring runs. I think we talked about that in a previous report, but it bears repeating. On the outer beaches, we're starting to see a lot more stripers too. Slot fish are pretty rare on the beaches right now, but there's a lot of those cookie cutter fish, and it's been nice to see those fish on the sand beaches again. The more consistent bass fishing has been up in the estuaries, like Town Cove, Nauset Inlet, Pleasant Bay, and then around all those little salt ponds and whatnot along the Falmouth shoreline. They've all got fish. I talked to the guys out at Dick's Bait and Tackle, and they said they feel like they're a little behind everybody else. It's funny, too, because they were the first ones in Massachusetts to get stripers this year. But they're still waiting for the right school of fish to come in. They got a lot of cookie cutters out there. The ponds have been hot because the worm hatches have been firing up, so the fly guys have been having a blast with that. But they're not seeing many keepers out there. But if you kind of steam from Martha's Vineyard and go through Woods Hole into eastern Buzzards Bay, things are getting interesting again. There's a lot of those cookie cutter fish there. There's a good number of slot fish there, and then there's been some wolf packs of fish up to the low 30-pound range in there. Most of the guys I know that are catching these fish are getting them on topwater plugs, throwing things like the dock and other walk the dog style plugs. But this bodes well for the coming breaking tides in the canal. We're starting to see sort of a backup of fish out there. It's still no guarantee that you're not guaranteed to go out there in a boat and slam these fish, and B, it also doesn't mean that these fish are gonna go into the canal right now. But let's just say I'm optimistic. And then heading west from there, the Wee-Wee-Antic, the Wareham River, New Bedford Harbor, and all these places in between, they've all got the same classes of fish. There's some slot fish in there. There's a lot of cookie cutter fish in there. And overall, the bass fishing in Massachusetts has been good. As I alluded to in the intro there, sea bass season started off really good in Massachusetts. We've been hearing about a lot of keeper-sized fish, a lot of shorts too, but a lot of solid keeper fish up to 24 inches. Haven't heard anybody complaining. Just a lot of happy people catching sea bass. And I mean, the season only started a few days ago. But these days people get really fired up for sea bass. And I guess it's easy to see why. I mean, they eat so many different things. You can catch them on jigs and bait and soft plastics and tins and all kinds of different stuff. So they're a versatile species to chase, and they make great table fare. Fluking hasn't really started in Massachusetts yet. I talked to the guys out at Dick's Bait and Tackle, and they said that they don't typically hear the first fluke reports the Memorial Day weekend. Other bottom fish species, though, are doing well. We didn't hear a ton of blackfish reports this week, but the stuff that I heard indicated that it's status quo. Still, last week those fish were shallow. This week they're shallow. Last week there was a decent number of keepers. Same story this week. I even heard of a pretty nice fish taken on the north side of the Cape. Up off of Situate. And that's an underutilized fishery. Not a lot of guys fishing for blackfish up there. Hoping more guys will get out there and poke around because I'm interested to hear what's going on up there too. Other bottom fish that we're hearing about, the scup bite has been really good in Buzzards Bay. I got a nice picture here from Black Rose Charters of one of his patrons with a nice scup that he got out there. Been hearing about a lot of hubcap fish out that way. And then the haddock fishery is still good out off of Situate as well. That seems to be showing no signs of slowing down. Guys are having no trouble getting limits of, no real big ones, but just a lot of solid keeper fish. Good cooler full of meat there. That's pretty much been the Massachusetts story. I got 2 reports to share. One from Greg at Red Top, and he just basically said that he considers the beginning of sea bass season to coincide as the beginning of fish taco season. One of his buddies was out on Sunday, which is actually a day or two before the opener. He was tog fishing, but he couldn't keep the sea bass off his rig, and yes, he let them all go. But he had some nice ones, up to 24 inches. So, I think between what I've told you and what Greg is telling us, the sea bass fishery is good right now. He also said that outside the canal in the eastern part of Buzzards Bay, that there's been a lot of schoolies and slots out there with a few bigger fish mixed in. And he's optimistic about the canal. With a lot of southwest wind that we're seeing and some of these warmer days, bringing that water temperature up a little bit. He feels like this next set of breaking tides could be a good one. And if anybody knows, it's Greg. I mean, the guy's been fishing the canal and working at Red Top forever. So he's got a pretty good bead on how things work down there. And I think this tide is a good one to keep an eye on. And then moving up to the North Shore with James Jukes, he told me that a lot's been going on up there, up north of Gloucester. He said that they've been getting a lot of fish up to 26 inches. He's been going every day. He hasn't caught a keeper yet, but he feels like they're in the area. He said the shad fishing's still very good. He just had to move around a little bit more this week than he has in the past few weeks, but the bite's still on. The fish are still in the river and feeding well. And then he passed on this little bit of a story here from his buddy Clay and one of the junior Plum Island surf casters. Clay took him carp fishing on the Merrimack, and I mean, look at this fish the kid caught. It bottomed out a 30-pound boga. It's the biggest carp that they've seen come out of the Merrimack so far. It's a pretty impressive fish. The guy should definitely be proud of that one. And then lastly, he just wanted to pass on some cautionary news, and that is that the warming waters have kind of fired up the sturgeon, and you got to be careful. If you hook one, it's a federal crime, believe it or not, to take one out of the water. So if you hook a big one, you don't need a picture for your Instagram feed. Just keep the thing in the water, get that hook out as fast as you can, and send that dinosaur swimming. So that's the story in Massachusetts this week. All right, moving into Rhode Island. The focus in Rhode Island seems to really be striped bass as well. I talked to my buddy Robbie, who runs Newport Sport Fishing Charters, and he said that he's seen a lot of nice fish this week. He was out blackfishing with a couple clients, and they were dead set on just catching blackfish, but a big blitz opened up on Bunker. He said that it looked to be 20 to 30-pound bass. But, they just sat back and watched because, the paying charters, they wanted to fill the cooler with blackfish, so that's what they did. He said he went back the next day to try to catch some bass in that area, and they had skedaddled. But he said there's some good fish around the north end of Jamestown and heading up toward Prudence Island. He feels like there's probably fish in Mount Hope Bay as well, but he hasn't been over that way yet. He did a little surf fishing himself, soaking squid, and one of the guys down the beach from him landed a 40-pound fish. So that's the first 40-pounder I've heard about. This was a bay beach, and I've heard about a few other fish in the high 30s. So, I mean, that's the news you've been waiting to hear. If you're a Rhode guy, if you like fishing the bay, shore or boat, really, you like daytime topwater action, you like, fishing live bunker and things like that, that's the news you've been waiting to hear. Don't wait till next week when I tell you, yeah, it went off. Get the boat in the water and get out there and make it happen, because more of these fish are moving in every day, and now's the time. I mean, if you get out there before everybody knows, you can really squeeze some enjoyment out of it. So I hope you guys will do that. The funny thing is about the striper bite in Rhode Island is it seems like the big fish just went around South County. All the fish I'm hearing about in South County are on the small side. It's those same cookie cutter fish, 20 to 26 inches, a few slot fish here and there. The best action has been up inside the ponds when the worm hatches have been going on. But the big story remains the bluefish. There's, absolute tanker bluefish in the breachways and really along that whole beach from Point Judith all the way to Weekapaug. It seems like the key is just finding bait. If you can find the bait and then, they're taking such a wide variety of offerings. I mean, you can get them on tins and plugs, you can get them on chunk bait. So you find that bait and you got a really good shot at getting, a 10, 12, 15, 18, even close to 20 pound bluefish. I've seen them all, and there's been a lot of them. So if bluefish is your thing, I'd be making a trip down there. Flukers have been reporting that the action has been getting better. They're catching a lot of fish, but they're not catching a lot of keepers. The good news is that despite the abundance of shorts, the keepers that they're catching tend to be on the larger side. I've been hearing a lot of 23 to 24 inch fish. And I don't think these hardcore fluke guys care. I don't think they mind weeding through 20 shorts to get 2 big keepers. I think that's just their passion, and they seem happy. They seem happy with the start. And again, the way to kind of shorten your path to finding these fish is to look for the squid. The squid seem to be a major indicator, and we've got so many of them around right now. That's been the way to find these fish. And then black fishing in Rhode Island continues to be great. I talked to Robbie from Newport Sport Fishing Charters. Again, he told me he's been getting a lot of fish. The limits have not been hard to come by, and he's been fishing shallow, 15 feet or less. And the bite's just been phenomenal. I haven't heard about any giants this week, no 13-pounders like I had last week, but it's been 6s, 7s, 8s, a lot of solid fish caught. And the bite continues to impress everybody that goes out for them. I'm going to toss it over to the guys from Watch Hill Outfitters now. Let's hear what they've got to say about what's going on in the western end of the state.
Since we spoke last week, water temperature has risen about 5 degrees and fishing has risen about 10. Definitely seeing some good fishing going up and down the coastline. We currently have fluke up to about 24 inches that we're seeing. These are some of the fluke rigs that we currently have that we use at the shop. We find them to be some of the best. We've also had a group of guys go out from the shop last night doing a little squid fishing that seems to be very hot. We've got a funny video that we'd like to show you.
It always eat me! I don't like it, dude. I don't like it. Shoot.
Did you see those goofballs out there? Very large squid on the reef. A lot of fun. Looks like they had a great time. The other thing that we have going on is last week we were reporting some gator blues that were up and down the breachways. Now they've seemed to turn into some small cocktail blues. A lot of fun to catch. Really great on the smoker. The other thing that we have going on in the river right out back is Harrison's out back snagging bunker just about every day. Those are great bait. We're actually seeing some slot bass that are coming behind them. Really fun, so definitely get out on the water.
Thanks, guys. I'm really loving these videos. I really appreciate the extra effort you're putting in. They look great. Thanks for that. And then my buddy Christian has been out all day, Captain Christian Awe of Awestruck Charters. And he's got a little bit to tell us about the bass bite today. So let's hear what he has to say about that.
We are fishing South Shore of Rhode Island today. It's a beautiful Wednesday. Bright sun all day long. We've been overwhelmed with enormous bluefish all day, both hitting topwater plugs, biting off flies, and generally harassing us. There's definitely bass around. We have seen some large ones, nothing huge yet, but it's tons of bait, tons of bird activity, clean water conditions, looking like it's going to be a good start to a season, and hoping it just keeps going up from here. Thanks.
And I'm just going to close out with the simple fact that it's kind of funny. The weak fish bite that was going on a few weeks ago in Rhode Island seems to be over. I haven't heard about a single weak fish caught in Rhode Island in 2 weeks. The only saving grace might be that we have the full moon coming, and the weak fish really seem to respond to the moon, so let's kind of cross our fingers on that. But it is funny. You know, they showed up in better numbers than we've seen in a while, and then they just flatlined. Moving over into Connecticut, I'm just going to stick with the same sequence here. Striped bass fishing has been decent. There's been a lot of fish in the Eastern Sound, but just not a lot of bigger fish. You know, you're not getting many fish even 30 inches. It's just a huge mass of these cookie cutter fish, 24, 26 inch fish. They're in the Race, they're in the Thames, they're in Niantic Bay, they're out on Black Point. As you move further west, like when you get to the Connecticut River, you're getting a little bit more mixing. Mike Roy told me that he's been seeing some fish, you know, a little over slot, like up to 37 inches. A lot of slot fish in the mix too. Andrew from Fishing Factory said the same type of thing is going on up his way. Just a ton of those slot fish with the occasional fish up to 20 pounds in the mix. And he said it's been kind of funny because those bigger fish aren't kind of in their own school. They just kind of appear out of a school of smaller fish. And it's basically you're just getting lucky. He said if you want to target a bigger one in the river, he'd stick with the herring runs for now until the fish all drop out of there. But that's a good place to go if you're looking for, you know, one or two better fish, you know, 35 inches to 25 pounds. Fluking has been so-so. You know, the Sound is almost all shorts. There's been some fish at Black Point. There's been some fish in Niantic Bay and Millstone, but they're not getting any keepers to speak of. The only place that guys are getting keepers, you know, the closest place to home that guys are getting keepers is the east end of Fisher's Island, and then over in like Smithtown Bay area. I guess there's been a few way out west, like Norwalk area on our side, but for the most part, it's been the fluke fishing in the Sound's been on the slow side with mostly short fish when you do find them. If you're dead set on getting a couple better fluke for the table, I'd head to Montauk because even Peconoc's been slow. And sea bass has started off good in Connecticut. The party boats I've talked to have told good stories of good catches, and I don't have a lot of details about exactly where, but it started off hot, and that's always good to hear. It seems to be a lot of shorts and a lot of keepers, and everybody seems to be happy about that. There's been some porgies mixed in with them, which makes it even better. And from here, I think I'm going to throw it over to the guys from Fisherman's World to hear what they've got to say about what's going on in the Western Sound.
The Western Sound bite is on now. We're actually off Hempstead and Rye today, trolling bunker spoons and mojos. We've had a pretty good bite the last couple of days with fish over 35 pounds. There's fish moving in our area now at 11B and off 32A to the weather buoy guys are trolling. Wire like bunker spoons, umbrella rigs, deep divers, and mojos. Today is a sea bass opener in Connecticut waters, and our local bite is always at 32A. I heard the bite was wide open this morning, and in the backside of the islands, you could try 28C in our deeper wrecks right now. Fluke fishing still remains a little slow. There's some keepers being picked up here and there. For the most part, guys are starting to fluke the inside of the islands down about 20 to 30 feet, and the guys shooting across the Smithtown and Port Jeff area are reporting a really strong bite with a lot of shorts, some keepers in the mix. Bluefish are showing up in heavy numbers. They're mostly out in the mid-sound. And guys trolling SPs, deep divers doing good. On the flat, calm, greasy days like today, you can find them fitting and throw some poppers and have a lot of fun. The porgies are really starting to move in our area now too. So any structure, local reefs, and rock piles will find bait. Clam chum always helps trying to get the porgies. Oyster bait bite is still going strong too. Thank you and good luck to all our anglers.
Thanks, Max. You're a rock star. I'm loving the I'm loving the correspondence from the field here. That looks great. Good job out there. And that's all I've got for you for Connecticut. Things are looking good, and as you heard from Max, there's some bigger fish in the Western Sound, some bigger bass. If that's your thing, if you want to try to get one over 35, I'd head out that way. Hempstead Harbor, Mamaroneck, that area, heading up toward the Throgs. That seems to be the epicenter of where the bigger bass are in the Sound. And then just to close this out, I just want to, really short, I just want to say that, with all these bigger bass showing up and a lot of bunker around, remember, snag and drop is no longer a thing. It's no longer legal. If you snag a bunker and you leave that treble hook in the side of it, that would be an illegally caught fish. And, if you were caught, it could lead to penalties. But circle hooks are not something to complain about. Just have a snag rod and a bait rod. You snag that bunker, you reel it in, you put it on that 9/0 circle hook right through the nostrils, and you send it right back out there. And the hook set, not hard to do. A lot of guys think that they're giving up on their Jimmy Houston hook set, but it's really not a big deal. The fish takes the bait. It's no different than when the fish eats a bunker on a treble hook. You just got to let him get that bait down, and then the difference is you just point the rod at the fish and you reel until you feel that hook find purchase, and then basically I just kind of reel down a little harder and just give them a couple of half hook sets, and that just seems to bury that hook in the corner. And then the great thing about circle hooks, the fish never come off, and I feel like it's something like 90% of the fish that I've caught on circle hooks have been hooked right in the corner of the mouth or right in the roof of the mouth. It's so rare that you get one in the gills or the throat that I really believe that this mandate can do something. And if you love striper fishing, you should be happy to make this little change to your fishing, because it could put more fish in the water for the generations to come. And what could be better than that? So that's all I got for you guys this week. Hope you felt like the reports helped you out. Remember, if you've got photos or videos, send them along. I'd love to put them in here. I'm always looking for reader participation. It really adds a lot to these reports. If you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman and you're just watching the video, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and hit that little bell thing down there so you can get a notification every time we post a new video. And head over to the website and check us out. We have reports from Maine all the way down to Delaware. We have features that cover that entire area. You get access to all 3 editions with your subscription and all the reports. We got a lot going on over there, and I think you'd do well to come check us out. So come give us a look, and good luck this week. Get out there, catch some fish, and send me some pictures. Good luck.
Steigercraft boats, built by people who fish our waters. Serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you.